My name is Dunia Borga, and you're listening to Eat You All podcast.
Welcome to the Eat Y'all podcast, where we discuss the struggles and successes of the farmers, food producers, and chefs who are working to get better ingredients into restaurants today and to ensure their availability in the future.
Welcome to the Eat Y'all podcast. I'm your host, Andy Chapman, and our next guest immigrated to the U.S. at age 9, where she grew up the rest of her time in Los Angeles, spent some time in New York City, and she's done a little bit of everything. She's got an award-winning bakery in Dallas, Texas that is getting rave reviews, and she joined us on a special project we just wrapped up in Mexico, connecting Mexican chefs to several ingredients grown in Texas. So if you like great ingredients and great stories, you're going to love this episode with Dunia Borga. And she's going to tell us about her journey owning her own bakery and restaurant. Her passion for food and life is contagious, and we think you're going to love this episode. I sure enjoyed sitting down with her and recording it live in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. Y'all enjoy it. It's going to be a good one. Welcome to the Eat Y'all podcast. I'm your host, Andy Chapman, and we are sitting live in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And I've got our new friend from Dallas, Texas, via Colombia.
I've been all over, but
all over.
Yeah, via all over. Home now it is Dallas, Texas, but I'm originally from Colombia.
Dunia Borga is our guest here today. You can learn more about her story and her restaurant during this podcast, but also what's your website, Dunia?
Is www.laduni.com.
Laduni.com, and that's LADUNI.com. So be sure and check that out. We're going to jump right into the podcast. All right, so Duni, you're here in Mexico. What are you doing here?
Oh, I'm loving it. I got a call from you just less than 2 weeks ago asking me to come with you for a dinner.
I gave you plenty of advance. 2 weeks is enough time to plan to leave the country, right?
Sure. And leave the country and get your passport. And we're in the middle of a pandemic. And no matter that, let's just go. But I'm loving it. We got away.
Well, I'm so glad you could join us. So you, and some of this I know from, your website, and we've talked a little bit, but you grew up in another country, not Mexico and not the U.S. So you're from Colombia.
I'm originally from Colombia. I was there till age of 9. Then I moved to California, and I grew up in California. I had all my teenage years in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then followed my sweetheart boyfriend to Texas. And I was there for about 2 years and then moved to New York.
Oh, my goodness.
I was in Manhattan for about 5 years and went back to Texas. And that's where I've been since.
So going back, tell me about growing up in Colombia. Do you remember a lot from?
Of course. It was my childhood and everything. Some of it, I guess our memories tend to be kind of like a movie. I don't know if you ever think of your childhood and you're like, you just see pictures of it, but they're very vivid. I remember everything. And not only that, but I come from a Latin family. That culture is stuck there. Mom makes sure that doesn't go anywhere, So yeah, I'm a Latin girl.
So what are some things you remember from that time?
Well, I remember everything. I remember going to kindergarten, elementary school, and everything. But what I miss the most is the food. I really do, really, really miss the food. Mostly is the fruits.
Really?
Growing up there, it's amazing that when you have everything in front of you, you really don't take advantage of it.
Right.
They were all this exotic, amazing fruits. And there we are eating apples and pears because they don't grow there, they import them from Chile. So of course you got to have apples and pears because they're not that usual there. But forget the papaya or the mangoes or maracuya, all those amazing fruits. It's like, oh yeah, I can have them anytime. Then you move away and you can't find any of those. Like there's some fruits that I will die to have. There is, and you can't find them in the States. I remember the first time I had a granadilla, which is a mixture between a passion fruit and a banana.
Okay.
And it's very light and amazing. And I went back and I had it and it was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've lived all these years without these fruits. So some of those fruits is what I miss the most.
Wow.
And there's the memories of having them and the thing of, why didn't I just take advantage of it while I was there?
We just moved to a town that has, some of our neighbors have like oranges and satsuma trees. And there's not a lot. It's not like we're in Florida or anything, but people just let them go. Like they're fall on the ground and then they just run over them with the lawnmower eventually. And I'm like, these are so good. Like, why are you going to the grocery store buying oranges? And a lot of it is, they don't look as pretty and they're not picked early and they get some of that weathering on them. But man, they're phenomenal.
They are phenomenal.
And,
we tend not
people
to look
just,
at them.
it's like, well, that grew up in my yard. It can't be that good.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
A lot of times that's not the case.
That's not the case. And guess what? We're in Mexico and they have some of those fruits and I'm eating them up. I'm
So you're
having
pretty
all
excited?
types of juices and everything. Yes.
I cannot wait for dinner tonight. We're going to be eating dinner at Chef Javier Stone's restaurant, Achiote, and which is around the corner from where we're staying here. And I love how he's got this huge kitchen with everything's open, so you can actually see everything his guys are doing while he's cooking. So I'm really excited about dinner tonight, and I know he's going to bring a lot of these local flavors. And he's got this whole wall. I don't know if you saw it when you were in there, but it's got the map of Mexico on the wall, and he had all these different producers that he's purchasing from all the different regions.
I missed that. I'm going to make sure I take a look at it tonight.
Yeah, you need to take a picture of that because it's really, it kind of encapsulates a lot of what we're about with Eat Y'all, is like knowing where your food comes from and having a relationship with the producer. And he's able to literally outline not just proteins, like all sorts of different things on his wall. And it's so wonderful to see, like, he cares about his food, and anything you can take that's a 2 from buying it wherever to an 8 when you know, or a 10 when you know where it's coming from. And apparently that's why he won Best Chef in Mexico. I could be wrong, but I know it starts with great ingredients.
I think it's amazing that he's able to do that. And as a customer of coming through and looking at that and saying, oh, wow, this is where I'm getting this from. And I think it's great.
It's so impactful for sure. Even for the farms to see, like, this guy cares enough to actually tell somebody my name, because in a lot of places it makes a huge difference. Because if a chef, says, hey, I'm using these strawberries. Well, as a trusted source, if I'm your customer and I know you're getting strawberries from 6 miles away or 60 miles away or 6 states away, I'm still going to go, okay, those are the strawberries I want because I like how you did it. So I think he does a really, really solid job of that. All right. So I don't want to skip too far ahead too fast, but L.A., New York, Dallas. Talk about, how'd you get to L.A.? What sent you to New York? What a life.
Well, L.A., I had no choice. My parents got divorced. Colombia was too small for the two of them.
They had to go to a new country.
And my mom chose the farthest way possible to be away from there. And it was Los Angeles. She had a girlfriend that lived there. And so that's why she chose there. Growing up in Los Angeles, even though I didn't grow up in LA, I grew up more outside of it, horse country type of area between Malibu and the valley and the hills there. So it's a very relaxed town. Hollywood doesn't really, even though LA is Hollywood and everything, it doesn't really hit it there that much. But you still get the big city, right, the restaurants, the great foods, the markets and everything. So I think that was one of my first exposures.
So you think that's definitely shaped some of your culinary ambitions and palate being in that area?
Some of it has, but I think most of it comes from my grandmother. I have a grandmother from Slovenia, And she actually was trained back then before World War II. The women would get trained by nuns, and they trained them to cook and how to keep a home and everything. So she was trained by a very famous nun in Slovenia that made things from scratch.
Wow.
And my grandmother made absolutely everything from scratch. So I grew up with apple strudel and all types of pastries, European pastries made at home.
In Colombia.
In Colombia, of all places. Wow. So that was my main thing that happened.
So your grandmother, and it's so funny that I've heard this from so many different chefs, and then myself, like I have a Southern grandmother who grew up in the greater Atlanta area, and then one from Michigan that lived in the Atlanta area. And so much of my culinary memories as a kid is all these different, like the apple pie my Yankee grandmother made with living just outside of Atlanta with apples that they grew on their farm. And she literally picked the apples, sliced them, diced them, made the pie. And that's, pears, figs, all these things she preserved, raspberries, all these different, fruits and things. And then the in-town grandmother made poppy seed chicken and all these other things. And it's like these memories that, and it's not like my mom never cooked, but my grandmother's food was like the top shelf of everything in my childhood. So it's kind of funny that all the way in Colombia, and your grandmother sounds like she was...
Oh, she was incredible. She was amazing in that sense. Just like yours, I'm sure.
Yeah. Literally this year, I was thinking, I need to find the recipe for fruitcake, which is like this really dense cake that she made every Christmas, and she would give away fruitcakes that had been soaked in brandy.
Do you have any of those recipes? Has anybody ever done?
I think someone has them in my family, and I didn't figure out who, but they are preserved. I just haven't gotten them.
Get your hands on those.
I know. And I know the poppy seed chicken, some of my sisters have gotten that and
have you tried it that somebody else makes it?
I have. It's never the same.
It isn't. It isn't. No matter how much you try, you can't get it.
No.
There's my grandma's apple strudel. I have the recipe, but it's written in Slovenian, and I translated it. I don't speak it. I wish I spoke the language, but I don't. I translated it. I make it. I sat my dad, who used to sit in the kitchen with her. And I was like, okay, step by step, how do you do it? Because she's already passed, so
right.
she can't teach it to me. And so even though I make it, it doesn't taste like hers. My sister says, now it's my apple strudel. She goes, well, we call her Mama. So she goes, no, it's not Mama's apple strudel, but it's Duni's apple strudel.
Right.
So I'm a true believer that we actually put a little bit of ourselves into everything we make. It's like the essence of the person goes into it. If it's made with love, it's going to be there. It's just, you're touching it with your hands. You're putting everything into it. So yes.
Well, and even, I think that's one of the neat things about food is that if you make it with, we'll say it calls for a stick of butter, a cup of butter or whatever, your butter that you can get, the best butter in the world that you can find in Dallas, is not going to be the exact same butter that could get in Colombia.
That's true.
Go down the line, like the salt that is readily available here in Mexico. They didn't have Morton's kosher salt. That is what I usually grab for, throw it in things in Mississippi. So it's all these different elements, and you get one of them that's 20% off or 15% off, and then you go 6 deep in that, and
it's not going to do it.
How can it ever be the same?
No, we can't.
But also, even if you had the exact same ingredients, could you ever replicate something?
I don't think so. I really don't think so. Like I said, I'm a true believer that a little bit of our soul goes into it.
Yeah.
And years ago, somebody asked me, what would you say to any of your customers? And I always said, un poquito de mí para ti, which means a little bit of me for you. And I really think whenever we make anything and we put love into it,
Right.
some of us goes into that. So you're actually eating it and enjoying it that way.
For sure. Well, and pastry chefs that are like literally have their hands in the dough, you know, if I cook a steak, I touched, you know, I shook rub on it or whatever, and I'm using tongs to turn it. But pastry chefs, like when they're pressing out the dough and they're I mean, you guys touch your food way more than, you know, anybody.
Yeah, we do.
So I feel like there's way more love in a pastry than anything. I mean, you know, you take some shrimp and toss them in a bowl and then you grill them. That's not the same
you don't
as
just toss it anyways.
When you laminate dough and it's got however many layers in there, that's a lot of it's a lot of work. All right, so talk about briefly. So New York.
New York
what was that like?
Well, it was amazing. New York was work. I didn't know what I wanted to be.
How old were you?
I was 22 when I moved to New York. I had never been in New York. The first time I ever stepped foot in New York, it was looking at an apartment that I was going to live in. The second time, it was moving into my apartment.
Wow.
And I worked in retail back then. And I used to work for a company called Baby Guess, which is Guess Jeans.
Okay.
And they asked me, would you be interested in opening up our Madison Avenue store? And I was a manager at the time, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll go do it. And so that's what moved me to New York.
Wow.
And it was a great experience. My first apartment was on 57th between 8th and 9th. It was on a high-rise apartment. I overlooked the Hudson River and the entrance to Central Park.
Wow.
And it was amazing. It was a company apartment.
Oh,
so
wow.
I had the high life. And at the same time, eventually I ended up leaving Baby Guess and getting the real life in New York and finding it and struggling it and finding an apartment. I ended up living in a brownstone. But I think I saw New York on both sides. On the struggling side of like, oh my gosh, I got to pay my rent.
Right.
And then the other side of I have a white glove, a doorman building, and it's amazing. So I saw both sides of it, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. I really think everybody has to live in a big city like New York, Paris, London, Japan, Tokyo, and
see what it's all about.
Yeah, and experience it. And if you can, of course, the high, having it in the high life is great, but you really, really get to enjoy it when you have not a penny to your name and you're trying to figure out, okay, where my next meal is going to come from.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Makes you appreciate everything a lot more when you're on the struggle bus every day.
It definitely does.
I was talking to somebody upstairs earlier who's from this area, and they were, talking about their salary, and we were talking about where we're going to dinner and the different costs of things, and they were like, when I have a different salary, I will afford, it was like he had an innate appreciation for the value of every dollar or peso, I guess in his case, of exactly what it could do. And sometimes people just, it's not a struggle. You don't think about exactly what else you could do with every single dollar. And he was keenly aware of every dollar and what it could do. And I think a lot of times we lose sight of that. It's like, it's, $5 for this or $6 for that. Or my daughter buying coffee drinks. I'm like, okay, I need you to look at the receipt and think about how much you make an hour and look at that receipt and really appreciate what you just paid for. And she's like, yes, sir.
Yeah, it's true. You have to.
Because you can spend $6 on coffee now.
Oh, yeah.
Easy.
Very easy. And keep adding all these different things to it. And of course.
Yeah, I know. Add the caramel, add the whipped cream, add all the different. There's a lot of things you can throw on a coffee these days.
And we're kids that they love to add all types of stuff to it. My kid I had my Starbucks card actually, and I had it on my phone, and he had it on his phone. And all of a sudden, I would go and put money in it, and then I would look, I'd be like, gone. what did you do? Oh, Mom, I just had a couple coffees with my friends. It was like, hello, did you ever see how much you actually spent?
Yeah. When you have to actually hand someone paper out of your wallet, seeing basically your balance in your wallet and see it diminish, it makes a huge difference.
I think you have to earn the money.
Right. Well, yeah.
Because if you haven't earned it and it's just your parents, you have no idea.
Yes, that is 100% correct. So you were in New York, you were doing the guest thing, and then how did you end up being a pastry chef?
In the food industry?
Yeah. What happened? Did you make a wrong turn, bad decisions, lose a bet? What happened?
No. I never really realized that my love for food and restaurants, I had no idea. I kept looking for everything else. What is it that I'm going to do next?
Right.
My first thing was, I was going to school. I came back to Texas and I decided to go to school to become a psychologist.
Oh.
And I was going to work. I wanted to work with abused children. And so I was studying psychology and everything. And during a break in school, during the summer, my husband turned to me and goes, you're always baking. You're always making all types of stuff at home. Why don't you take a real culinary class? I was like, yeah, but I'm just going to bake for home. And he was like, no, try it. He's been in the restaurant business. He has actually been in the restaurant business forever. We met when I was 17 years old. And
so that was back in LA.
That was back in LA.
So did he go to New York with you?
No, he was in
So you left
he was
him.
in Dallas. I left him. I went to New York and he stayed in Dallas. But and I actually came back to Dallas because of him. But by now we were married, and he said, well, go to school. A lot of the people that I hire actually go to El Centro, which is just a junior college in Dallas that does a culinary program. A very good program at that. And I was like, okay, fine, I'll take a class. I cannot begin to tell you how out of place I felt at that first class. Everybody was wearing a chef coat. Everybody was thinking of this as a career. And I was like, no. I'm just here to bake for me and for family. No.
And what year was this?
This was back 1998.
1998. I was like, if this is 1989.
No,
wow.
1998.
1998.
Yeah. And so I went and I took the first course. And I remember stepping out and calling him on the phone and going, honey, I really don't belong here. Everybody's so serious about this. Everybody's wearing chef coats. I don't have a chef coat. All these things. And he goes, no, stay there. You belong there. Just stay there. And a girl behind me, in perfect Spanish, because I was speaking to him in Spanish, turns around and goes, I feel just like you. And I was like, oh, we became friends instantly. But I tell you, I took that class and the next class and the next class. I never went back to the psychology school.
That was
They
it.
didn't have anything else for me to take. And it was like, my next step was, it was like, okay, come over to the other side. Learn not only pastries, but go to the other side. And I was like, no. I am not going to learn that side.
No savory for you.
No, because I love to smell my hands. And I can't picture smelling my hands after dealing with fish and meat and onions.
It's not always pleasant.
And all this. And it's like, no. The worst smell, I think, in pastries is yeast. And I love it.
I know. It smells like, I mean, even that kind of almost smells like beer.
Yeah. And I love to smell my hands after, like, doing cookie dough and everything. And they're soft because of the butter and everything. So no. I keep me on the pastry side.
Wow. So you started in 98.
I started in 98. I took as many classes as they had for pastries. I ended up graduating from pastries. And then it was like, okay, what do I do next?
Right.
So with this, I wanted to open a little coffee shop, but I wanted to be just breakfast, maybe some pastries in the afternoon for tea, but be done by 3, 4 o'clock and home. That does not happen in the restaurant business, if you know that. But dream world of Duni. This is what I thought. And so I was like, okay, honey, why don't you help me open up a little coffee shop? So he's like,
and
okay,
his
fine.
background is
He's always been in the restaurant business. He's had
fine dining,
casual, fine dining, nightclubs, everything. We had done the first move. What moved us to Texas is he started a little Mexican restaurant that was called Suzu Handmade Mexican Food. I was his first manager. And that concept grew to be 125 stores nationwide. But it was also the name of fast casual.
Wow.
They were the first ones to use it, and it was absolutely amazing. It was, they actually got bought out, but it was bought out. He was going to go public with the company, and it got bought out back then by Arby's, which was not a very good connection when Arby's does all types of frozen food.
Right.
And Suzu's was all artisan Mexican food. And so he got bought out by them. The thing was, it was that in paper, it was amazing. So when your company's owned by partners and everything, they pretty much call the shots. So he ended up selling that, closing that. I think the last Zuzu was in Austin and closed up about 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. So they lasted a long time.
Yeah, they lasted for a really long time. And so he did that. Then he's had French restaurants. He still has one in Dallas called Lavendue, handmade Mexican food. But when I was doing this, we started with the little coffee shop that I wanted to open. So he was like, no problem. I hope you open it. But your cakes are just not going to cut the rent. You can do that. I don't think so. Let me make some food with it. So we did. And that's how La Duni got started.
So what year was this?
This was we opened up La Duni in 2001.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then when we first opened it, right before we opened it, I needed to find out about pastries. I only had school. But yes, I had some travel and everything, but difference of a lot of pastry chefs, of a lot of chefs that they actually have a career and they go into hotels and this and that. I went into my own kitchen. So it was a little different.
Right.
But before that, we decided, okay, we're going to do this. We got to get really educated and find out what we're going to do.
Right.
And so we traveled extensively. Pastries are very famous in Vienna, at least European pastries.
Oh, yeah.
And more the Latin pastries, because we have such a large influence of European flavors in all of our pastries. And we were opening a Latin restaurant and pastry shop. So we went to Vienna. And let me tell you, I love the pastries there. But I really think the French, at least back then, had brought it up just a little bit higher. Further. Yeah, just a notch higher. So I loved the French pastries. So we did Vienna, Paris, London. London has some incredible pastries.
I've had pastries in Paris, but never London.
Oh my gosh. And nowadays there's some incredible chefs coming out of London with pastries. So we did London. And then, of course, Madrid.
So the tax-deductible research trip.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Actually, the couple pounds that I gained off of that. But it was incredible. That was a very educating trip. Yeah. And that's what got me more and more involved into it.
So was there ever a point when you started the restaurant that you were like, crap, this isn't going to work? I'm going to just despondent, this restaurant thing.
What am I doing?
Yeah.
That's every day. It's not just when that's every day. Let me tell you, I get up every morning shaking, going, how am I going to do it? What is going to happen? How is this going to go? Are people going to show up? Are they going to like my things? Everything.
And when you say people are going to show up, nowadays you mean staff and customers.
Nowadays is both. Really. Back then you used to say the staff at least showed. Now it's like, but yeah, it's scary every day, but it's an amazing roller coaster. But the best part about it, I think at least in my field as a pastry chef, we touch people's hearts.
Yeah.
Because we're making a cake, and yes, it can be so you're making whatever cake, but it is somebody's celebration. It's somebody's wedding, somebody's birthday, somebody's funeral.
Right.
I mean, it is incredible the places that some of my staff have gone to. And the most amazing thing is when it fills you so much, and it's such a great honor for somebody to come up and go, oh my gosh, I gotta have your cake for my wedding. Or my dad we used to come here every Sunday for brunch, and we had your pastries, and now he's gone, but I still come here with my kids.
Yeah.
And we're enjoying it. And you find out that people let you into their lives.
Yeah,
you
you're
become
part of their life.
of it.
Yeah.
And
the routine.
How amazing is that?
That's really special.
It is special. It is an honor to be able to touch people's lives that way.
Yeah, that's amazing. That really is amazing. All right, so Duni, we've got a few minutes more, and I know we've got to go. We've got a great dinner lined up that we have to go to in a few minutes, but we're going to do what we call the lightning round.
What is that?
So it's a quiz.
Oh, no.
And
I hate quizzes. No. I always failed them.
It's a very difficult situation here. So I'm going to go. We'll start off with the easy one first, okay? So biscuits or cornbread?
Oh my gosh, you're killing me. Those are really good. Why do I have to choose? Can we just have a bite of each?
I mean, well, you can say
biscuits or cornbread. Biscuits are fluffy and amazing, but cornbread is my childhood. I grew up with corn. I mean, but it's not your cornbread from the South of United States.
Is it dense?
No, it has the full corn in it, the kernels in it.
Oh, wow.
So it's not made with cornmeal, but with kernels. And then we do a little bit of condensed milk in it. So it's a little sweet.
Okay.
And I would say that would be my favorite.
You've got to go with that. Okay.
Yes.
Favorite cut of steak?
Ribeye.
Ribeye.
Yes.
Well, you're in luck because that's what we're having tomorrow.
Yummy.
So, that's what John is bringing down from Texas for the event tomorrow. Favorite barbecue? You got briskets, ribs, pulled pork, chicken.
Sure. Kill me here. I love a piece of everything. But my favorite meat of those... Why do I have to choose? That's not fair.
Well, so your last meal, the warden says, hey, look, you get to order one last thing. Has to be barbecue.
He would never stop going all over the world getting me food. When I travel, I start with food and I end with food. I don't, I see places and everything, but I eat my way through a city.
I know.
So barbecue.
Do you have a favorite barbecue in Dallas?
No, I have quite a couple. I go pick up this and this one and that and the other one.
It's like your favorite kid, right? You're like, how do I pick?
Yes. I love ribs.
Ribs.
Yeah, I love a good rib. Well, no, brisket too.
I mean, brisket's probably my favorite. But
yeah, I think brisket. I have my old pastry assistant showed up Christmas Eve at my house with a whole brisket that she had done. And oh my God, that thing was amazing. And she kept telling me all through the years, oh, Duni, my brisket. Oh, Duni, my brisket. Yeah.
And she came through.
Yeah, she came through. And oh my gosh, that was so good. I literally wanted to take the whole brisket into the closet and not come out of my closet.
Just have a
I
knife.
didn't have to share it. No knife needed. It was literally, yes, you do cut it with the knife, but the meat was just so soft and it fell apart. It was incredible.
She did it right then.
She really did.
All right. Cats or dogs?
Dogs. I'm a dog person. I do like cats, but no, I'm all dogs.
If you could go to a concert with any band in history, I mean, you could go back and hear Mozart, whatever he was lining up or anything to whoever did something last week. Where would you go? What would you hear?
Oh my gosh. I think I would go to a Shakira concert.
Shakira?
Yes. Or Carlos Vives or something like that. I've never been to one of those concerts. So maybe that's what I would do.
I mean, the closest I've been is Taylor Swift in the Superdome in New Orleans, which is not that close.
Well, the closest I've been to was Mana. Okay. But no, I think I would love to do that.
What's your favorite liquid pairing with a dinner? What's your favorite beverage?
A nice glass of wine, but then I also love, lately I've been having old fashions.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's very Southern of you.
I guess so. I like bourbon. I love bourbon.
What's your favorite bourbon right now?
Oh, I forgot the name of it. I know the bottle.
So a lot of them down here, like Woodford and Makers.
Woodford's that one I like.
There's a lot of old fashions made with Woodford.
Yeah, that one I like.
And we'll kind of wrap up here. I know we've got to head to dinner in a minute. So 1 year from today, I've got a massive ribeye. I'm assuming cooked medium rare.
Definitely.
A bottle of Woodford. Maybe some red wine too.
You better have some red wine too.
What are we celebrating that you've accomplished 1 year from today? What are you looking forward to?
That I've survived.
Just survival. 2022 is gone.
It's just survival.
And you made it to 2023.
No kidding.
That's it. Well, Duni, thank you for joining us on the podcast today. It's been a real treat to have you, and I'm really looking forward to the event tomorrow and tasting all the things that I know you're. Quickly, just run through what all are you making for tomorrow?
Oh, we're making tons of stuff.
I mean, I feel like there's like 7 things. I think I told you you'll have to make like a cookie, and now you've got. Well,
you asked me for 2 desserts. That's all you asked me for, and then you kept on adding stuff. Like,
but it was Javier. I blame Javier.
No,
he said we need some buns.
Do not throw the blame on somebody else. Here you tell me we have one ingredient and it's pecans. Then you added cheese and honey,
lime leaves.
Yeah, lime leaves, all types of things. But I'm excited because you actually sent me a box of all types of cheeses. And I got this cheddar cheese that was amazing.
The redneck cheddar from Veldhuizen.
Oh, yes. The redneck one is the one I used
was
for
it really
these
good?
Crackers. It was amazing. And those crackers came out really good. So I like them. I hope you'll enjoy them. And so everybody else. But I got those cheese crackers with pecans and black sesame seeds. Mm-hmm. And then we also made a pecan butter cookie. Of course, I came from Texas and we're here in Playa del Carmen. So I had to bring them just a little tiny bit of Texas. So I brought the Texas pralines.
There you go.
But we're dipping them into Belgian white chocolate. Just
nice.
Giving them a little twist of European there. And then we are doing a pineapple tart with a butter pecan shell and covered in a toasted meringue. Hopefully we can find a blowtorch that I can finish those meringues with.
I have a small lighter. It's a 3.
Oh, yeah. I can see
torch
me
lighter.
burning
I think it'll do it.
Fingers with that. And then you cannot go wrong with chocolate. So we're going to have a little flourless chocolate cake.
Oh, that's lovely.
With pecans.
It's going to be great. I think we have, between the regular menu and the drinks made with some of the local ingredients here, I think we have 12 or 13 things on the
we're
menu.
We're going to have lobster, octopus, beef. It's going to be incredible.
And John from 2F Ranch, so one of the things I told him to bring was a ribeye. So he's got this bone-in ribeye
a tomahawk?
A tomahawk I told him, I said, we'll use it to display for the chefs that come. And then after the event is over and people are going home, we'll stick that thing in.
You better
Javier's.
Be careful. I'll be kicking everybody out going, time for the tomahawk.
That's our dinner treat after everybody leaves is we're going to get to split the tomahawk. It's like a 2-inch tomahawk ribeye. So can't wait to get into that. Well, Duni, it's been a real treat to visit with you on the podcast. Thanks for joining us. And y'all can follow her. Are you on Facebook, Instagram? Tell us how to find you.
I'm on all of them. And I'm actually at ladunibakingstudio.com or
there you go.
Or laduni.com.
So you can find her there. Duni, thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You've been listening to the Eat Y'all podcast, hosted by Eat Y'all founder and chief relationship officer, Andy Chapman. If you enjoyed this episode, it would mean the world to us if you'd join us in our mission to save family farms by subscribing and leaving a review. Even better, share this episode and follow us on your favorite social media account at Let's Eat Y'all.